Hi, I'm Ann Coulter. Welcome to my Substack. I have the great patriot and brave warrior Erik Prince, most famous for being the founder of Blackwater. But it was the Pete Hegseth hearing this week that has put me on an anti-girls in the military kick. And I don't know what Erik will say, but I know he is a real warrior. So just getting him to describe his life, I think, will make my point. Welcome, Erik.
Thank you, Ann. I won't say I'm a real warrior, but I've employed the very, very best.
You were born into a very wealthy family. I don't know if they were wealthy when you were born. You didn't have to work for the rest of your life. And my sense of what I know of your life from reading your book is that no, you always wanted to be in the military. You were a rough and tumble child, and you just went ahead and pursued it. Am I wrong about that?
That's an accurate assessment. Yes.
I was reading, I was going to ask you. The answer is none. Are there any female Navy SEALs? That's where Erik Prince came from. Are most of the people you hire for or hired for Blackwater, most of them were Navy SEALs, weren't they?
Well, we actually outgrew the SEAL community. I mean, we had so many people deployed. We had Marines and Rangers and Special Forces and pararescue. So, yes, we were an ecumenical organization that we did not just choose from SEALs.
Yeah, I guess you did grow quite big in some of those missions I want to ask you about. But when I was looking up, the first girl general, it was, of course, under George Bush. And then it's been a slew of them since then. And I checked, no girl Navy SEALs, but there was some Army award. And the reason I ask you, and remembering your background, is that the interview with one of them, she described how when she was in high school, she was a cheerleader and really into fashion. And then she went to college and to an investment bank, but that got kind of boring. So she wanted a new challenge and went into the military. I think very few men who go into the military have that sort of path, though it's perfectly lovely. I'm not naming her. Perfectly lovely and normal for a girl. I just don't know why we want to try to twist the human nature of women and put them into these very masculine fields.
Look, I think the point Pete Hegseth was trying to make is if females want to serve in certain units, that's fine. Just do not alter the standards to admit to that unit at all. And despite the protestations of the Christian Gillibrand and the Mazie Hironos and the rest of them, they absolutely have altered the standards.
Yes.
They have done major gymnastics to get some females through those programs. And that is extremely corrosive to the unit integrity, to the capability, and the military should solely be about merit and lethality. That's it. And I think that's the message that Pete Hegseth will try to drum back into the heads of the military, and not diversity and green energy and all the rest, because there is no second place finisher on the battlefield. That's dead.
Yeah, well put. Well, looking at all of the pictures of your guys with Blackwater, and also having many of your Blackwater guys guard me, there's very little diversity, I noticed.
There's not a lot of the fact is, the fighting and the dying for the United States of America is largely done by white Southern men. When you
Yes.
look at the preponderance of casualty counts, that's still what it is. And it is an all volunteer force. It's when you come out of boot camp, you request if you want to go to combat arms or support arms or whatever. And so the preponderance of those combat units are white Southern men. It's almost a continuation of the same lineage of kind of the English Civil War, the
Yes.
English Northeast versus the Scotch and Irish and Welsh in the South.
Yes, they like a good fisticuffs.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all your guys, like you, very, very studly. Whereas I've noticed a lot of the National Guard units I mean, to lower the standards for women, yeah, you're also lowering the standards for the men, and you get all these
Well,
little
look, and
powder puffs.
beyond that, we have a societal problem that 70% of American youth age 18 to 24 are not even qualified to apply to join the military, let alone if they wanted to apply, because they're too fat, too out of shape, drugged, criminal records,
Hmm.
and or in some cases have too many tattoos. I think that the tattoo thing is probably waivable, but the other stuff is a serious hindrance, and I would say it's a symptom of an unhealthy society. And I think good on RFK for trying to do something about the obesity problem and the
Hmm.
chronic health issues and the over medication of society. So the military has a smaller pool of qualified people to draw from. And
Hmm.
then the other thing is you have a very consistent lineage of people that serve in the military, grandfather to father to son. And And then when you have Mark Milley in the leadership talk about the biggest problem in the military is white supremacy or whatever, white radicalism, whatever his du jour topic was, and it drives a lot of the same families from joining, and that's one of the reasons you had such a recruitment fall off.
Yes.
Um, it also speaks to the one branch that has not had as big a recruit, the Marine Corps, a fundamental approach to how they recruit. And if you look at their ads, let's say maybe if you're good enough, you can be one of us.
Marine generals, I was looking at the list of the girl generals, and it seems like the Marines have really held the line the most. Although there are plenty of them, but you look it up on Wikipedia and it just goes on and on and on and on for the Army. It goes on and on, I'm sorry to say, for the Navy. But the Marines, I don't know, there were only like 15.
Here's the thing, but again, the Marine Corps has not had a recruiting problem as much because they say if you want to be a warrior, okay, join up and be a Marine.
Hmm.
The Navy, the Air Force, the Army has said, "Hey, join up. We'll pay for college. We'll do this for you. We'll do that for you." It's more of a normal job appeal versus
Yes.
aspiring to be a warrior.
Yes, it's more of an appeal for, do you want free college tuition and great health care and to board first on commercial airlines and have people say thank you for your service, but you will never actually be in any danger whatsoever. I think you and I have talked about this, but what percentage of the troops do you think we actually need?
Huh. Well, here's the thing: the tooth to we can get a lot more combat power out of our existing spend, or I would argue it's better to cut spending and to cut total manpower. There's
Mhm.
alone 800,000 DoD civilians employed by the Pentagon.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
What are they doing?
that's a damn good question. Okay, so
Wow.
you could probably take a half of that nut away quickly and put that towards more training, better gear, more soldier related stuff.
Hmm.
But the tooth to tail ratio of the military, if you think a tooth is something that is going to engage or destroy the enemy, and the tail is all the support and overhead and admin function that supports the tooth, it's
Hmm.
about 12 to 1. Okay, 12 tail to 1 tooth.
Wow.
Okay, so there's an enormous possibility for savings there as well, especially as we get towards more automation, more robotics, etc.
Hmm.
But circling back to the issue of females in combat versus men versus mixed units, you could write an entire Substack article on this Marine Corps study alone, because I think at Fort Irwin, California, or at a Marine Corps base in California,
Hmm.
during the Obama administration, the Marine Corps did a 9-month long study of an all male unit, a mixed male female unit, and an all female unit. And it just measured the performance in everything they did:
Hmm.
putting up a tent, loading a tank, changing the tracks on a tank, all the kind of heavy stuff that a combat unit just has to do because things
Hmm.
break, you have to move, you have to put up shelters. And it was clearly, I mean, the data was beyond reproach to say, yeah, the all male unit clearly could perform better under a long stress duration of a combat simulation exercise And so for, that's not to
How
say
about male, female, and female? I bet those were pretty close because women being in the unit, I bet you brings things down quite a bit.
so they tracked it very closely down to heart rate monitors and individual GPS trackers of each person to know exactly what work product they were putting out and what was their exertion to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the mixed unit also suffered significantly more injuries, and a lot of the men ended up doing the heavy lifting of those mixed units anyway. So that's not to say that females can't add value in some units sometime, but do not change the standards.
You can watch complete episodes of Unsafe with Ann Coulter by subscribing to anncoulter.substack.com. That's anncoulter.substack.com. You can also listen to complete episodes for free at Ricochet.com. Choose Unsafe from the pull-down menu at the top of the page. That's Ricochet.com, your home for civil center right conversation on the web.